Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining our webinar today. My name is Kevin Hospital. I'm the Director of Marketing at Mindmatrix, and we're also joined by Alicia Grundhofer, who is our Channel and Sales Enablement Consultant here at Mindmatrix. Today, we're going to be discussing asset management. Before we get started, though, I want to go over a few housekeeping things. As the recording goes on, everyone's going to still be on mute, but over in the panel on the right-hand side, there is a chat function. So feel free to enter your questions, and we'll do a Q&A at the end. If you have any audio issues or anything that's going on throughout the webinar, we'll try to address those or if anything comes up. But thanks for joining. So wanted to get started. So who is Mindmatrix? Mindmatrix is the only single fully integrated platform offering complete sales and marketing enablement for direct and indirect sales. So we were founded back in 1998. We service direct, channel indirect, channel only, and also organizations that have a direct but are building out their channel. And one of our main staples of our platform is asset management. So I'm going to throw it over to Alicia, who can start to cover some of the things about asset management.
Okay, great. So let's first talk about what is asset management. So asset management makes it possible for marketing and channel managers to go and easily manage their marketing and their sales collateral so that way they can keep it organized for their target market. Asset management also enables your direct sales channel partners as well as your marketing team so that way they can quickly locate the most relevant assets for sales and marketing so that way they can share them with their leads, their contacts, and their customers. So let's then talk about the benefits and the value of asset management. With asset management, you're able to go and create and share different assets with your users. So this way your sales team or your channel partners will no longer have to go and submit requests to marketing in order to have or find specific assets. So they can easily go and log into their own portal and quickly download or send the assets that they would need to their prospects. Asset management also allows you to go and co-brand or white label your assets. So especially when I'm working with channel partners or indirect sales reps, we want to make sure that they're able to quickly access those relevant sales assets that are branded for their business. So that way we can improve the sales velocity as well as the possibility of conversion. So this goes and saves time for the channel manager on customizing those assets, and it allows the partner to go and spend more time reselling for you. We also want to be able to gather feedback and comments from your users. So channel managers and marketing managers will be able to gain insight on the impact of a particular asset that they've created on the sales process for their partner or their sales rep. We also want to be able to automatically expire an asset based on the promotion time. So if you're running a specific promotion or sale, we want to make sure that those assets are being shown in the dashboard at the right time to your users so that way they can take advantage of them. But we also want to make sure that those assets are going to go and expire based on those promotion times. With asset management, we also want to make sure that our assets are organized by the persona or group. So this way we can share relevant assets based on a user's region, their persona, whether that's marketing or sales, and spend more time for sales, selling rather than focusing on the assets that they're looking for. We also want to use asset management to go and report on usage numbers by asset per user. So this way we can go and view actual usage reports of your assets in real time. So that way if you're a marketing manager or a channel manager, you'll be able to go and see what your partners or your sales users are sending out to their contacts the most or downloading the most. Now we also want to make sure that those assets are coming to the partner or the salesperson in the platforms that they're already in. So this can be in a couple different ways, whether it's showing it in their CRM through like Salesforce, for instance, or through the desktop widget for Outlook, or even on their mobile applications. So this way your sales team can quickly access the materials that they need without having to go and leave the CRM or Outlook or other platforms that they're already familiar with. And this helps you cut down on the training time and helps them go and focus more on their sales. And then lastly, we want to go and auto-suggest assets based on the lead's persona. So this helps to reduce errors made by sales teams or channel partners when they're trying to go and sell your services or products. We're able to go then and customize the assets that are suggested to them, whether that's in a playbook or in a marketing email, sales print material, anything like that.
Great, thanks, Alicia. So whenever we start to talk about personas, we have to make a split here between an admin persona and an actual user persona in an asset management system. So when we look at our admin personas, we can kind of split them. If you're working in an organization that does channel or indirect sales, there's a lot of benefit that comes with having that ability to be an admin in a such situation like that with an asset management system. It really allows great closed-loop analytics. So you can look at partner analytics, the engagement, deployment of assets, and kind of see where they're being used and how they're being used. And all that system, that can feed back into your system as you're gauging partners that are performing or underperforming, or even just how they're consuming your assets and deploying them. On the same side with marketing, if you're working in a direct sales organization, a big thing that comes into play is version control. With trying to circumvent an asset management system using solutions like Google Drive or Dropbox, you always have an issue with version control and kind of rogue marketing practices where people may download an asset onto their desktop or save a version of an asset that later gets updated. So having this version control when all your assets are in one place is a huge benefit. Along those lines too, you start to see that you can deploy the right message at the right time with the right user. As Alicia covered just in the last couple slides, that you're able to make assets that are available to certain persona groups or only to be able to deploy it at a certain time in the sales process. So you're able to control the messaging and when it gets deployed and have greater visibility through the closed loop analytics of seeing when these assets are being used and who's using them. So I think Alicia can talk a little more about the user personas too, of how they can use a system like this.
Sure. So when I'm working with sales, whether that's indirect sales, sales reps, or direct sales, when I'm talking to the salespeople, the thing that they're looking for is, I want to make sure that I can find the materials that I need to go and send to my contacts quickly and make sure that they're relevant for my contacts. So when they're going into an asset management platform, they want to be able to easily find those materials. So things like tagging your your collateral, things like that. That's especially helpful for this user persona group. So that way they're able to easily find the materials that are related to either your offering or to their target market that they're talking to. Now for your success teams or your account managers, they also want to be able to find the materials that they're looking for as well. So when you're working with a success team, say you have different onboarding documentation or anything like that that you want your team to go and send out, we want to make sure that they have those materials that they need so they too can go and quickly find them. Now with channel partners, when I'm working with a channel partner, something that's really important to those contacts would be making sure that they're able to find co-branded materials. So if you are a vendor, we want to make sure that they have your brand recognition as well as their company logo or other company details on there. So that way they can say print out a sell sheet or send out an email related to your offering. And then for your marketing staff, so when you're working in marketing, we also want to make sure that we're finding those materials quickly. So if your marketing staff is looking to go and do a campaign or try to find a specific asset related to something, they would be able to go and comb through your assets in an asset management platform like this. So that way they can find the relevant materials to go and start building out their campaigns there.
And to build off that too, Alicia, one thing is if you're working in a distributed sales or marketing team, where you might be working in a separate region or a different location, or if you have multilingual collateral, that this is a great way too to have control over that and be able to deploy. So if a certain sales team or a certain sales staff only needs one type of asset, that they don't have to wade their way through all of the other pieces. They only get what they need and they have easy access to it as well.
Perfect. So let's go and talk then about some asset management best practices. So when I'm working with my customers, one of the things that we go and do is a gap analysis with your assets, or an asset gap analysis. So that way we can identify what you'll need to go and have set up in the software for your salespeople or your partners. And then based on that gap analysis, we want you to go meet internally with your marketing or sales stakeholders, so that way we can identify which assets we need to go and create, or which assets we would need to go and then remove. So going back then to what we talked about earlier, we also want to make sure that our assets are personalized. So that way we can add any co-branding or white labeling to those materials, so that way your partner or your indirect salesperson has that logo on their piece. We'd also want you to go and schedule with your sales enablement specialist to go and set up which assets are going to be a priority for their email, for your internal team. So if you have a specific promotion or something like that that's going to go and take a priority, we want to make sure that that is on the calendar, so then we can have a more in-depth conversation about that and make sure that we have a plan moving forward. So regular asset management requires maintenance. So we're able to go and help you maintain using an asset management platform by reviewing the reports in the software, checking your usage rates, checking any ratings, comments, things like that. So that way you can get feedback from the users on what they like and what they're looking for more of. So once you go and analyze those reports and see which assets your partners or your indirect sales reps really like, or what they're really using, you're able to go and then figure out which assets need to be created in the future, or which ones we would need to go and phase out or replace. So we also want to make sure that our assets are marked properly with expiration dates, tags, categories, things like that. So that way your users can easily go and find the asset that they need at the right time. So if we're looking specifically, if we're talking about that promotion like we did earlier, so we're having a promotion on one of our offerings. So if we have the tag or the category marked with that promotion, that offering, and the expiration dates, it's all there in one place for your user to go and find. So Kevin touched on this a bit before, but whenever you're creating new versions, you can make sure to go and tag those assets consistently, since that's really important for version control. Like if there's updates or changes to your product or your offering, we're able to go and keep that, keep those versions updated in your asset management platform. And then by using the category feature, we can ensure that any of the tags that you have are standardized. So if I've gone into different items, or even if I'm going on Amazon, I'll try to search different terms and things like that that are relevant. But at least when you have it standardized, you're more likely to go and have the material that you need come up when you need it. And then lastly, we want to configure our asset tags so that way they're showing up appropriately for your contacts or your opportunities. Again, we want to make it as easy as possible for your salesperson, marketing staff, channel partner, whoever, to go and easily find that resource that they're looking for.
Great, thanks, Alicia. So I wanted to make sure that we had a good amount of time for question and answer at the end of this. I think that we've covered some great topics of why asset management is important and some of the best practices you can go about for deploying an asset management system. As I said in the beginning, there's over on the right-hand side of the navigation, there is a chat window with some questions. So we're going to quickly look at some questions here, and we'll start to answer them, but feel free to go ahead and add them in. If anyone has to leave as we're getting close to the bottom of the hour, the recording for this webinar will be available within the next 24 hours, and it will actually be emailed out to you. And if you'd like the sales deck, please respond back to the email, and I can get that to you as well. So I'm going to take a look at the questions here, and we'll come back here 1 second. So good question that came in here of someone who seems like they probably don't have a lot of assets. So what should we do first, create assets or work in an asset management system? Which is actually a great question, because it's one of those things that you want to do simultaneously. You don't want to go down a path in creating bad habits and bad processes where assets are not being distributed correctly. So if you're new to creating new assets, if you're doing a rebrand, if you're new to a company, something that you really want to look at as you start to create assets and you start to create collateral is how you're going to distribute them and how you're going to house them. I think everyone on the call can agree that today is the least amount of assets that you will ever have. It's only going to increase, and as businesses grow and as people's consumption time gets shorter and shorter, they want more information. So as you're developing the assets, it's actually really, really great to have that system in place that you can store and deploy at the same time. So we'll hold on for 1 second, I'm looking down here. So there's another question of, it's kind of funny because I mentioned Google Drive and Dropbox. So someone asked, so why do I need an asset management system if I have Google Drive or Dropbox? So I'll let Alicia handle that one because she sees that a lot in practice.
Sure. So if you're using Google Drive or Dropbox, I'd say you're about halfway there. So what I found with Google Drive or Dropbox is that you're not able to go and expire the asset or tag your assets. So there's a lot more work on the side of the channel manager or the marketing manager to go and maintain it and make sure that everything is up to date all of the time. Like Kevin talked about earlier with the version control, like if someone downloads something 2 months ago and the asset's been updated, there would be no way to go in and make sure that those assets aren't being used. Now, with a platform like Mindmatrix or another asset management platform, you as the manager can go in, like in an admin account, and share those assets with the appropriate users quickly. So Kevin touched on, multilingual or for a specific territory, anything like that. And you're able to then go and view those reports on what users are using and what assets they seem to really resonate with. So the key then is to using an asset management platform is it just helps you to go and stay a lot more organized compared to having to regularly comb through a Google Drive or a Dropbox. Not to say that you shouldn't do that with an asset management platform, but it at least makes it a lot easier for you to go and view those reports and then go and make an analysis with your data.
Great, thanks, Alicia. So another question that came in is, please define an asset as it relates to your product. So I think when we talk about assets, the biggest probably bucket they will all fall into is a PDF. And what is that PDF? It could be a sales brochure, it could be a product offering, it could be it could also be an email template, it could be a video. Really anything that you would be deploying out to an outside sales team, if you're in direct sales, or if you're working in a channel organization, it could be manufacturer, distributed, branded materials that then your partners or your dealers, your distributors would then want to then take that information and be able to show on their own. So Alicia talked a little bit about white labeling and personalization. What a good asset management system will allow you to do is to have the partner, the reseller, be able to personalize those assets that come from the central corporate or distributor or corporate or the manufacturer and push those out into the market. So it really is, it allows all of the channel partners to leverage the power of the central organization to have all that messaging and branding on point, and that they don't have to actually be responsible for that in end use as they distribute out to the customer. So good question there about the assets, but really an asset could be anything. It could be a video file, it could be a playbook, it could be, it's anything that's a digital file. I think that the old way of thinking would be just it would be a PDF or a fact sheet. But we've really seen that assets can be anything or any piece of collateral, any piece of product information that can be put out to consume.
And I would agree with that. I'm thinking even in practice, when I'm doing an asset gap analysis, I'll go and look through a list of assets. So it could be landing pages, it could be emails, it can be a lot of things when you're going through and looking at what you currently have.
We see it a lot too around HTML email templates. And so people think of email templates as being something static. But what a good asset management and an email deployment system will allow you to do is one and the same, of take an email template that's been white labeled and personalize it on the fly as you do send on behalfs or as you're sending out to certain regions. It can get specific into multilingual. So having all these different versions in one central location, and anything that can be put there as an asset. So another question that came in, I think Alicia actually just mentioned about the gap analysis. Someone's curious of what's contained in a gap analysis, how you go and kind of do that beginning audit and inventory.
Sure. So when I do a gap analysis with with a customer, we go and work with you to go and take a look at all of the assets. So just like Kevin talked about, it can be a landing page, it can be an HTML email, it can be a lot of things. So that way we can go and determine what's going to be the best course of action, what we even have. A lot of people don't necessarily know what they have until it's all written down and you're able to go and see a big aggregate of your list. So once we go and determine which assets you currently have, then we want to go and break it down. So it can be based on like your industry that you're working in, based on whatever it is. But at a high level, we'll go and focus on, what kind of asset is it? Is it print? Is it email? Which persona the asset is geared toward, whether that's, CFOs, CEOs, and what stage in the sales process is that asset going to be most appropriate? So that way, if you've got a lot of stuff related to when you set up an appointment or a meeting with that prospect versus nurturing that contact. And then we also have other customers, if they're working with a variety of industries, what industry is this going to be most applicable to? So from there, we might see, for instance, we've got a lot of things geared toward lead generation and for CEOs, and most of those items are print pieces. We can then use that information to go and determine which types of assets we would need to go and create for other personas, or realize that we need to go and have some email materials related to CEOs to go and create for lead generation. So it just helps you to go and see what we have and where we can go and fill in those gaps for you.
And one thing too, just to kind of come back around on that gap analysis and that audit, it's a great way to start off your journey into asset management and as you're evaluating the platform. But it's one of those things too that it's not a one-time and done. Mm-hmm. It's really a continual thing, and a continual process, because what an asset management system will allow you to see is how well your assets are performing and how well people are using them. And if you start to see that there's a gap as you continue to run, that a certain asset is not being used, you can go out into your marketing team, your sales team, or your channel team and say, why isn't this asset being used? We spent all this time creating it. Why isn't it being used? And you can really start to come back around and use that to create hyper-focused content around personas, but then also to start to see underperforming assets, what you need to do to bring them up to snuff, or also to eliminate them to kind of streamline your messaging, knowing that certain assets aren't performing. And it gives you that analytics and kind of the insight to come back around and make strategic business decisions on the assets that you do create. So good question that came in there. So getting past the bottom of the hour here, I know that there's a few questions that kind of came more specific onto product offerings that I'll follow directly up with. But I wanted to thank everyone for joining today. This is the first of our ongoing series that we'll be doing, so please keep an eye out on your inboxes. If you have any questions or would like any more information, like I said, the recording should be coming through here within 24 hours, or visit www.mindmatrix.net, and all of the information we covered here is in our asset management section. So I wanted to thank Alicia today for doing such a great job and sharing some of her insight with us, and thank you for everyone for attending, and we'll see you on the next webinar. Thanks.
Take care, everybody.